Hey guys, today we have our team member Akash from Vikings. He is a game developer and was selected for the Devfolio Ethereum India Fellowship 2.0. It was an 8-week long fellowship with a stipend of $1,000. In this video, he talks about how he applied and got selected for the fellowship, his journey and experience. We've added the timestamps in the description. Hope you enjoy it. Hi Akash, could you tell us about what Ethereum India Fellowship is?
Ethereum India Fellowship is a program by Devfolio which was sponsored by Ethereum Foundation this time. They have two tracks. So in track one, they were bringing in talented Web2 developers and introducing them to the Web3 ecosystem. There was mentorship, there was community support, and the focus was on learning as well as building. While in track two, they were bringing in intermediate Web3 developers with the focus on honing their skills and building full time. There was one to one mentorship as well as community support.
That's nice. So you said this was the second edition. So who was eligible for it and what was the timeline?
Okay, so starting off, the timeline for both the editions of Ethereum India Fellowship were slightly different. So I'll talk about the one I was part of, that is EIF 2.0. Okay, so it started with the application process, which started in the second week of December and ended at first week of January. Selected applications were then soon called out for interviews, which happened in second to third week of January, and the results were announced soon after. Fellowship started in the first week of February and ended in the first week of April. For the eligibility question, there's nothing official that I particularly remember, other than that you cannot sit in as teams and it had to be an individual application. But other than that, I think everything worked. Adding to that, though, most of my cohort was between second year to their final years in college.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned about Web 2, Web 3 and blockchain. So could you explain these terms to someone who is completely new to it?
So basically, Web2 refers to the version of internet that most of you know today. There are responsive web pages which are delivered to you by service providers and big corporations, whereas Web3 in context of Ethereum refers to decentralized applications that run on blockchain. So these apps allow anyone to participate without monetizing their personal data. And I'll explain blockchain. So for most of the beginners, blockchain is a decentralized ledger as they understand that basically makes all your transactions verifiable and secure.
Huh, that's nice. So what are the applications of blockchain in game dev?
Okay, so think of a decentralized ledger in terms of game development, wherein you can do several major stuff with it. So we'll like break it down into two parts. First of all, application of core blockchain in game development, and then application of NFTs in game development. Because NFTs is kind of a booming topic right now, and it's really helpful in game dev. So for core blockchain, basically you can verify all of your game data. That is, you can emit out events, and that can be verified by a second game or your game itself in future. And even you can store data that is quintessential to the game and which can be in future verified. Though most of the games do not want this kind of security or even need this kind of security, it's at times good to have these in cases when it's a high stake game. Say you have a poker game going in and you want it to be really secure and you want it to be all verifiable. So in case your random number is messing something up and people are exploiting that algorithm, you want to know that you didn't mess up. And that's where blockchain can come in. The extra bit of security, that extra bit of verifiability is where it can help your game out. And for NFTs is a really cool topic because it allows you to create a scarcity. So think of it in terms of in-game items. Your character has a sword that is scarce, that is unique to the character. Every NFT will have a unique signature, unique hash to it, which will allow it to be traced back to its users as well as have a clear ownership. So a sword that you own would be different from a sword that else owns. And it can have various different things. Now you can think of different game mechanics. Like your sword can have history, like your sword can then evolve. And all of this can happen in the ownership of a particular person, and no one can ever take that ownership away. Now, when we think in terms of distributed ledger, multiple games can share the same game asset through blockchain. You can create an NFT, you can have a particular standard, like we talk about ERCs. So NFT is basically an ERC 721 token. So ERC 721 has its own standard. Now you can have a gaming standard. Like there's 1155, ERC 1155. That is a gaming ERC token that allows you to combine ERC 20 and 721. So similarly, you can have your own standard, which allows you to use the same asset in multiple games. So say you're playing Pokemon and then you're playing Legends of Zelda, and and you're using the similar assets in both the games, which are obviously compatible to the game that you can look up. But say multiple games have the same asset ecosystem, that would be pretty cool. So your progress in one game then helps you out in another game. So instead of building many mini games in a game, you can have several games working on inside the same ecosystem with the same game assets, and that's pretty cool application. Plus, you can do anything with it that you can do with, say, a database, but it's open, it's out in the public, so it's not behind a corporation wall. So anything that can be done with it can be done with your game now. Plus, it allows users to have more verifiability. That is, there are less cases of cheating. Say the dream scandal in Minecraft speedrunning. What if the random number generation was on chain, so the entire process could be verified? Then there would be no cheating. He can't manipulate the numbers anymore. So that's one of the cool things with blockchain and its application in game dev.
The future of blockchain in the game dev industry looks promising. So, how long do you think would it take, blockchain to completely place the current standards that are being used in the game dev industry?
Okay, so I'll be honest here. It's going to be never. It's going to be never because there's this thing called like there's this trade-off. This trade-off between what user want to experience and what the developer wants to build versus security and verifiability. Say you're playing Ludo, you're playing some random game. You don't want it to be verifiable because at present how things are, and it may change. It may entirely change with the introduction of Ethereum 2.0. But as things are, even with layer 2 solutions, at layer 2, okay, we'll discuss about layer 2 and stuff in a later video maybe. But even with the layer 2 solutions that greatly reduce the cost of each transaction, there's still a huge transactions that piling up with each and every transaction that you make for the game. So if every move is a transaction and you're doing it all on chain, soon it's gonna be expensive, and that's a no bueno for games. Like you don't want it because when you play a game, you don't want that game to be expensive, right? You basically play the game for fun. Most of the time, you play free games, so that's a no no for the games. But and I'll add it here. There are going to be some really cool use cases, like we saw in the rise of CryptoKitties and what was that? Etherpunks? Yeah, Etherpunks. So collectibles and your applications around collectibles, people just that 1% of your target demographic that really wants to spend it in and wants to have a luxury item, they're gonna be like filling in and like chasing around these really cool limited edition items in your games, and that can be a really cool application and how you build around it.
So, coming back to your fellowship, could you tell us more about your application and interview process, and like what were the factors they judged your application on?
Okay, so I can't say with 100% certainty what they judged me on, but I'll just tell you what the process was and what were the key points I focused on. So, first of all, my focus was always game development and things I could do with blockchain for game development. And that's pretty much what I wrote in my application, what I was planning to do and what I have already accomplished. One of the major factors that probably helped me out, because obviously I had like less number of projects, less number of official projects and stuff that I did compared to some probably some of the other applicants. I participated in a lot of hackathons, obviously with Vikings. We had like 20, 22 hackathons at that point under our belt, and we had won like what 8 to 10 of them. So that was a pretty big deal. Other than that, I mostly focused on my strengths and I researched a lot about the applications of blockchain in game development and things that could be done, things that were being done, And just the research part really helps you out when they ask you specific stuff, because it's really a common thing. If someone is getting you in a fellowship, or someone is getting giving you a grant, they're gonna ask you what you're going to do with it. If you get in the fellowship, what are you going to make? Because at the end of the day, no one really wants someone uh, who's not going to be creative. You get me right? So if you get someone who just wants to create a voting portal with blockchain, that's a very 2016 use case. Like, you can do that, but is that all you want to do with it? Because like 100 million people are already doing it. So if we teach you and you make the same exact thing, we are contributing nothing to the ecosystem. So the thing is, just bring your own self into it, bring your own creativity into it, and go for something cool. Everyone does the niche thing, everyone does the common thing. You have to like separate yourself from the crowd. And that's where a lot of research and thinking, brainstorming comes in. So that is really helpful. In the application, they asked us what we were working on at the time. I think our favorite project or stuff, our Web 2 project. And what we were like really proud of, the project we were really proud of, and our accomplishments in Web 2. And for beginners, obviously, for track 2, it may have been different. And then they asked us what we were planning to build if we were part of the fellowship. So I mentioned some game dev stuff that I was able to build as part of the fellowship. I was able to like build some of it as part of the fellowship, and some I'm working on. So after that, there's this interview process where they ask you some questions about how you're going to manage your time, how you're going to do the project, what is expected of you, and how you're going to basically get everything in line. So that's basically one of the basic stuff they'll ever ask you in all the fellowships, how, because they need to know your commitment and stuff. So that is pretty much it. I think the application process was pretty streamlined, and everything asked was pretty just logical.
That's great. So the fellowship was for 8 weeks, right? So how was your journey throughout those 8 weeks? Could you describe it to us?
Okay, so to begin with, in the first 4 weeks, we had the learning phase of the fellowship, wherein we were basically trying to grasp on different concepts of blockchain and DeFi ecosystem. I was mostly focused on game development, so I was researching a bit on that side. So starting first week, we synchronized Geek Node on our systems. The next week, we learned about, we tried on Crypto Zombies. So if you're a beginner, there's that. Go check out Crypto Zombie. That's a really cool Solidity tutorial. It's really interactive as well, so you learn a lot with it. And we learned about Remix. That's an online IDE for Solidity. So there's a lot of cool stuff with Remix as well. Maybe we'll do a second video for that. In the third week, we focused on DeFi and DeFi protocols. Basically, DeFi is decentralized finance applications of blockchain. So in there, you have really cool stuff. So I was assigned a asset management tool. So I researched, basically we had to research on a particular topic and then do a presentation. So maybe I'll talk about that someday. But for the time being, I researched on Furu Combo. Furu Combo is a no-code platform for basically combo transactions, if that makes sense. In a single transaction, they allow you to perform multiple tasks. So one of the really cool applications for that is arbitrages. So I think they recently had a security breach with Aave Flash loans, so they have removed it for the time being. But what they did was, you can take a flash loan from Aave. Flash loan is again a loan that you have to take and return in a single transaction. So it's basically a no loss loan. So take a flash loan from Aave, and then say at exchange one, you're getting ETH to BAT or ETH to USDT at a certain price, and then you're converting it at a second exchange from back to USDT, from ETH or back to ETH at a certain price. And in between, you're getting some profit because of price discrepancies between the two exchanges. And you have basically, you can earn millions out of this because you have to put in nothing. You can take a flash loan for millions from Aave and do this arbitrage, and it's going to cost you nothing of your own. And you don't even need to know Solidity or blockchain for this. You're literally just dragging and dropping blocks in Furu Combo. So I think they called it cubes. Yeah, you're dragging and dropping cubes in Furu Combo, and it's really easy. It's a great user experience. Go check it out if you wanna try yourself. Try out arbitrages and stuff, but just read about it beforehand. That was my third week. In the fourth week, we were supposed to work on a DeFi application. It was supposed to be a like small application, and it wasn't like bound to DeFi. It was just supposed to be an application that we submitted to Etherpunk. Etherpunk was a hackathon being organized at that time with a lot of bounties and stuff. So me, along with a fellow from my cohort, participated with an augmented reality NFT application, Demon. We'll just drop down the link in the description. You can check out that plus the video and stuff, or maybe Anshuman, you can add the video right here for everyone to see. So basically, it was we created an NFT based application wherein your NFT would have certain traits and your opponent's NFT would have certain traits, and you can do all things you would do with trading cards, kind of like Duel Masters or Yu-Gi-Oh! And you guys can just fight out your NFTs in augmented reality. So your monsters can battle each other in augmented reality, and you can even trade your NFTs. You can sell your NFT. You can buy new NFTs. All that good stuff about trading cards and augmented reality. So that was pretty cool. We got Matic bounty for that in Etherpunk. So that was pretty cool. In the final 4 weeks, we had a bunch of workshops, and this was the time when we started working on our final project. So me and again the same fellow from my cohort worked on another game that was a mafia game, a decentralized mafia game that you could earn from, and the entire game was verifiable. And there were a lot of challenges going into it, a lot of new stuff. Personally, for me, I had never worked with JavaScript and React, and it was all a learning curve for me. So that was really cool. And we worked with Chainlink. We even submitted that application to Chainlink Hackathon, which was pretty cool. And then, yeah, the last 4 weeks were just us working on the application and going to workshops, learning new stuff. Researching on our own was a major part in these last 4 weeks. Obviously, there were mentor sessions throughout the 8 weeks, where in the first 4 weeks, we were regularly checking in with the mentors. In the latter 4 weeks, we were checking in whenever we had a doubt or wanted to confirm something. We had ideation sessions with different mentors and different people from the ecosystem wherein they would help us out. They would check out our idea and the direction we were working on. If they wanted to suggest anything, they would suggest stuff. If they had some issues with the idea, they would point it out. And the entire thing was really helpful.
That sounds amazing and sounds quite hectic. So, how did you schedule and like how were you able to manage this along with your college academics?
Okay, so officially, I think they mentioned that it was 40 hours per week of commitment time, but I don't think usually it took that much. Maybe it was like 30 to 35 hours at maximum. Maybe I'm nitpicking at this point, but it wasn't more than that. So at times I used to do all nighters and stuff for this, like especially like at the end of every week we used to have this submission, the assignment submission that we got for the week for the first 4 weeks, and then we had to complete that throughout the week and submit it on Saturday. And it usually was not a lot of work, like not something you would find yourself buried into, but a decent amount of work. So with college stuff, usually you have to put in extra time, and with the college being online, you did have some extra time going in. But I think yeah, it's kind of your own effort putting in extra time, but nothing out of the ordinary or something that you can't manage. If you're passionate enough about it, you'll be able to manage it.
That's awesome. So, what's your advice to someone who wants to apply for a fellowship?
So basically, there are two major things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, be passionate about what you're doing. If you're someone who's just stipend driven or status quo driven, say for GSOC, and you just want the status of a GSOC, then that's no good. You need to be passionate about open source. Similarly for EIF, you need to be passionate about the application of blockchain in your line of work or working for blockchain in general. And second is do your research. When you go in, you need to know what's going on. It shouldn't be like they ask you stuff and you just sitting duck there. Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be advantage someone who has already researched up, because that shows your passion towards the topic at hand. If you're going in and you don't know anything about what's going on, then that's negative. Like sometimes it may work. It's okay to be a beginner at something, especially with EIF. I was a total beginner to the ecosystem, but I did my research on the potential applications and what I would work on. And all of this like cumulates to basically you being passionate and putting in the work in the area, and that's a really real positive. So do your research, be passionate, don't be generic. That should be it.
I hope you found this video helpful. Please like this video and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're interested in such videos, do subscribe to our channel.